the People versus James Crumbley, the same thing. The order restricting pretrial publicity was entered on July 14th, 2022, and that order will also be set aside as of the reading of the verdict. Are you ready for the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. All rise to the jury.
Good evening. You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you've worked very hard. We've all been awaiting your decision. I know this was a very intense decision for all to make. I believe you've selected a foreperson. Who's the foreperson? You are the foreperson. Could you read the verdict, please?
Each count.
Sure.
Count 1, involuntary manslaughter as to Madison Baldwin. Guilty of involuntary manslaughter as to Madison Baldwin. Count 2, involuntary manslaughter as to Tate Meir. Guilty of involuntary manslaughter as to Tate Meir. Count 3, involuntary manslaughter as to Hannah St. Juliana. Guilty of involuntary manslaughter as to Hannah St. Juliana. Count 4, involuntary manslaughter as to Justin. Guilty of involuntary manslaughter as to Justin Schilling.
Thank you, foreperson. I'm going to ask Ms. Williams to poll the jury. So she's going to ask you each.
Jury in seat number 1, was that and is that your verdict?
It is.
Jury in seat number 2, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Jury in seat number 3, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Jury in seat number 4, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Jury in seat number 6, was that and is that your verdict? Jury in seat number 7, was that and is that your verdict? Jury in seat number 8, was that and is that your verdict? Jury in seat number 9, was that and is that your verdict?
It is.
Jury in seat number 11, was that and is that your verdict? Jury in seat number 12, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes, it is.
Jury in seat number 13, was that and is that your verdict?
It is.
Jury in seat number 14, was that and is that your verdict?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I know how hard this is on all of you just by reading your face. I know this has been a very hard decision. We appreciate your time. I'm going to ask you to return to the jury room and I'll be there with you in minutes, all right?
All rise for the jury.
All right, so there you heard the jury's verdict. They're deliberating 9 hours and
So you just heard the verdict of Jason Crumbley, who is the father to Ethan Crumbley, the teenager who went and shot up Oxford High School out in Michigan, killing 4 people, right? His wife, Jennifer Crumbley, was found guilty of the same charge. So close to 10 hours in deliberations caps a case that for the first time in United States history, the parents were held responsible for the actions of their kid. Ethan Crumbley was 15 years old at the time when he opened fire at Oxford High School in suburban Detroit, pleaded guilty as an adult, and back in December, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now, Jason Crumbley faces up to 15 years in prison per the 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. Each one represented a murdered student. Jennifer Crumbley will be sentenced next month. Prosecutors said James Crumbley had bought Ethan a 9mm SIG as a gift the day after Thanksgiving, at a difficult time of his son's life when he was struggling emotionally because his best friend had moved away. So let me get this straight. You bought your kid a gun because his friend moved away and he was emotionally distraught over that. So the way to get over your son's emotional distress was to buy him a gun? A SIG at that? Wow. Crumbley is not accused of knowing about the attack beforehand, which his son had warned about in journal entries. So let me get this straight. How can you not know about the attack? But then again, that just goes to show you that there was no intrusiveness about this, right? But then again, it's not like the school didn't try to warn them about the actions of their kid. It's not like the school didn't say, hey, your son's out here making journal entries about shooting people and things of that nature, and they probably just shrugged it off. They ignored the warning signs. And when you ignore the warning signs, eventually something is going to happen. And it did. It resulted in 4 people being murdered and another person being injured. While the case against the husband and wife largely mirrored each other, many of the same witnesses in both trials, prosecutors did not delve as deeply as into James Crumbley's social and work life. Testimony took less than a week, and Crumbley did not take the stand in his own defense like Jennifer Crumbley had, but his actions into the lead up into the day of the school shooting played a vital role. School staff testified that the Crumbleys were called to Oxford High School that morning about a drawing made by their son depicting a gun and a person being shot. The parents didn't tell school officials that he had access to a weapon and said they couldn't take him back home that day, saying they had to work. A computer crimes expert testified that James Crumbley had not begun his DoorDash delivery job until after the meeting, and that is when he started taking orders. He drove by the family home 4 times, with the prosecution suggesting he had opportunity to check on the gun to make sure that it was safely secured. Crumbley told investigators later on that day that he hid the 9mm handgun in an armoire and placed the ammunition underneath jeans in another drawer. Crumbley would later on go on to kill 4 students: Justin Schilling, Madison Baldwin, Tate Meyer, and Hannah St. Juliana. During closing arguments, McDonald, the prosecutor, said the deaths were preventable and foreseeable, if Crumbley had done any number of tragically small efforts, and she attempted to undercut the defense by telling jurors that parents can be responsible gun owners no matter if their child is planning a mass killing. It's not a mass shooting, it's a mass killing. Still, McDonald said the trial is unusual and the circumstances surrounding it are what led prosecutors to build a case of involuntary manslaughter. This case is not a statement about guns. It is not a statement about parental responsibility. It's not a case about kids doing kids things. The majority of jurors in Crumbley's trial are parents, are also either gun owners, grew up around guns, or have family and friends who have them, highlighting how firearm exposure is a familiar facet of this region of Michigan, where hunting is a popular activity. Defense lawyer Marielle Lehman said in her closing arguments that the prosecution had to prove his case beyond a reasonable doubt and that it presented no evidence to show Crumbley knew his son was in danger to the public or that he had access to the gun. Okay, so let me get this straight. So that's your defense? So it presented no evidence to show Crumbley knew his son was in danger? What do you mean? What do you mean? Who's this attorney? Marielle Lehman? What do you mean? Huh? What the fuck do you mean when you say that, oh, there's no evidence to show Crumbley knew his son was in danger? The school fucking told him. The school told him. What do you mean the son was see, that's that gaslighting that they get on my nerve. That's that gaslighting that really pissed me off. How do you mean that he didn't know that there was no evidence? Then he bought his kid a gun. They showed the parents the pictures that he drew. You mean to tell me that they were that naive to what the fuck was going on? And that's why they're in hot water right now. That's why they're in hot water right now, because of that neglect to do something. Hell yeah, he was a danger to the public. Jason Crumbley's trial moved at a faster clip than his wife's trial, in which the prosecution had presented 21 witnesses compared to 15. Prosecutors initially expanded the witness list to include the student who survived the shooting and the original owner of the 9mm handgun, but did not end up calling them up to testify. Prosecutors in the mother's case had focused more heavily on Jennifer Crumbley's perceived parenting failures and how she seemed to ignore her son's mental distress while she was preoccupied with her hobbies and an extramarital affair. Oh, wow. Damn. Who thought there was a little bit of cheating involved? Who thought that was going to be a thing? But anyway, during Crumbley's trial, prosecutors stressed to jurors that although Michigan now has a safe gun storage law that went into effect this year, it was still the legal duty of the parent to prevent minors from causing unreasonable risk of harm to others. Testimony in Jason Crumbley's trial began last Thursday. On the same day, Oakland County Circuit Judge Cheryl Matthews signed a court order revoking his jail, phone, and electronic messages, except for his lawyer or legitimate clergy, or for using his tablet for research, after he had allegedly made threatening statements of an undisclosed nature. Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard said after the verdict, the Crumbley showed tragic inaction before the shooting, which they did, because they knew. They ignored it. They ignored it. They chose to ignore it. That's why the kid went to the school and did what he did. Now, as a result, you got a family that is broken forever. Because Ethan Crumbley ain't never getting out. He has life without the possibility of parole. that family will never be the same again. And given their ages, they might be in their 60s or whatever like that before they get out. They might be in their like 60s or whatever before they get out. If your very first thought when you hear about active shooter at your child's school isn't is he okay, but the worry if your son is the shooter or to rush home to find out if the gun you irresponsibly left unsecured is still there, then you should have done something in advance. That's what the officer said. So let me get this straight. There's an active shooting going on at your child's school. And your first thought isn't that, oh man, he might be the victim. It's, oh shit, I left the goddamn gun case open and he went and got it. If that's your first thought, that's a big problem. If that's your first thought, that's a big problem. But, wow. So let's once again hit the rewind and provide a reset as to how do we get right here, right? How do we get here? Before the school shooting, Ethan Crumbley wrote in a journal that he was searching for the gun his father had hidden. In a journal, before shooting up the school, Ethan Crumbley wrote in clear language of his plans to find the gun his daddy had hidden and carry out the attack. He said that he had to find where his dad hid the 9mm before he can shoot the school. This was then he was 15. The entry was among the disturbing writings read aloud Tuesday by Oakland County Sheriff's Office Detective Timothy Willis as part of the manslaughter trial of his father, Jason Crumbley. In another entry, he wrote that he obtained a Sig Sauer 9mm firearm. The shooting is tomorrow. I have access to the ammo and the gun. I am fully committed to this now. I have zero help for my mental problems, and it's caused me to shoot up the fucking school. He wrote in another entry, I want help, but my parents don't listen to me, so I can't get help. This is what he wrote. I have zero help for my mental problems, and it's caused me to shoot up the fucking school. I want help, but my parents don't listen to me, so I can't get any help. The testimony comes as prosecutors argued Jason Crumbley acted with gross negligence, saying that he did not properly secure the firearm and ignored warning signs of his son's spiraling mental health. Ethan Crumbley was ultimately able to access the 9mm, which his father bought for him on Black Friday, and used it to kill 4 students and wound 6 students and a teacher at Oxford High School on November 30th, 2021. Jason Crumbley pleaded not guilty to 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter and faces up to 15 years in the bean if convicted, which he has been convicted on all 4 counts. His wife will be sentenced next month because she was convicted of these same charges last month. Several witnesses spoke about the search and arrest of the Crumbley's parents days after the shooting. At another point, a female juror put a tissue to her eyes as pictures of the victims were shown and their causes of death were described. In addition, the jury watched video of the shooting from surveillance cameras inside the school. When the video ended, there was silence in the courtroom. Prosecutors waited for about 15 seconds and then asked the judge for a break. He was sentenced last year, back in December, to life in prison without the possibility of parole, right? Back in December, Ethan Crumbley was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole by the Oakland County Circuit Judge Kwame Rowe. He pleaded guilty to terrorism, causing death, 4 counts of murder, and 19 other related charges. He did not testify in his mother's trial, as his attorney said he would invoke his Fifth Amendment right to silence if called. The case against Jason Crumbley, like one against his wife, was set to test the limits of who's responsible for mass shooting. Prosecutors aiming to expand the scope of blame in mass shootings or mass killings have used an unusual and novel legal strategy by arguing the shooter's parents are responsible for the deaths because they got him a gun and they disregarded signs of his mental health issues. Parents have previously faced liability for their child's actions, as with neglect or firearms charges, yet Jennifer Crumbley's case was the first time a parent of a school shooter was held directly responsible for the killings. Now, this was out in Michigan, and states will operate different when it comes to these type of cases or whatever like that, right? So we'll just have to see what else, how else this plays out in other states, because we got precedent. We have precedent. So a detective testified Tuesday that James Crumbley stored 2 other firearms in his home and a gun case locked with the default combination 000. Yeah, because anybody can figure that one out. Adam Stoyek, a detective with the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, spoke with James Crumbley the day of the mass shooting as investigators searched the family's home. Sitting in the back of a police vehicle, Crumbley told Stoyek 2 firearms, a 22 caliber Derringer and a 22 caliber Kel-Tec, was locked in a gun case in a bedroom dresser, according to a video of the conversation. The combination to unlock the case was 0000. Crumbley said, and although Stoyek later discovered the safe, it only had 3 numbers. Under the gun case, investigators found 2 magazines, a holster, and a box of 22 caliber ammunition. That's what the detective testified. In cross-examination, Stoyek acknowledged that James Crumbley had been cooperative in describing where in the house the 2 firearms were stored. Yet the questioning still left unanswered questions about how Ethan gained access to the SIG 9mm, which had been purchased 4 days before the shooting. When investigators searched the master bedroom, an open gun box was sitting on the bed next to an empty box of 9mm ammunition. Several other witnesses were testified on Tuesday about the search and arrest of the Crumbleys, where they were fugitives days after the shooting. They were supposed to attend an arraignment on December 3rd after being charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, but they missed the arraignment, making them fugitives and setting off a search. So basically, they were on the run. They were apprehended in the next morning, hours, the next day. So basically, in the early morning hours of the next day, they were apprehended in a building 40 miles from their home. They tried to flee. These motherfuckers tried to flee. Dave Hendrick, a former detective sergeant on the Oakland County Sheriff's Fugitive Apprehension Team, testified his team went to the office of the couple's attorney at the time, but did not find either Crumbley parents there. So Hendrick also said he made contact with the attorney, but did not provide details about the discussion. A business owner testified that he spotted the Crumbleys in a vehicle building parking lot and recognized it from a wanted poster about them. He then called 911 and reported the sighting, leading to their arrest. David Mensky, an officer with the Detroit Police Department and Special Response Team, testified he and a group of officers traveled to the office building to search and arrest the Crumbleys. And in court, the jury was shown an 8-minute body camera video that shows the moment law enforcement discovered the couple lying in a mattress inside an art studio. Near the couple, investigators found more than $6,000 in cash, 4 cell phones turned off, because that will be a way to discourage tracking. So you turn off your cell phone. That way, nobody can pinpoint your location using your cell phone. Clothing, bank envelopes, and an empty bottle of whiskey and more. So these clowns tried to run. But, you know, I learned something in life when it comes to situations like this, right? You can run so fast and you can run so far, but eventually you'll get tired and your situation will catch up with you. No matter how fast you try to run, no matter how far you try to run, the situation will always catch up with you. I don't feel sorry for them one bit. I don't feel sorry for them one bit. This is the price you pay for the games you play. So you guys let me know what y'all think about this. If you're not subscribed to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and share these videos on your social media platforms. Shouts out to the LDBC. This your man. Scream at me. Hurry!